Hello, first grade. This video is for March 31st. This is a writing video. So you've had a chance to look through this story called Let's Go to the Moon. Okay, and it has some amazing pictures, real photographs of when American astronauts went to the moon. If you haven't looked through that, pause the video and take a chance to read that story and look through some of the videos. And I wanted to let you know there are 4 astronauts, U.S. astronauts, who have been on the moon and are still alive, and one of them is named Buzz Aldrin. And he was one of the first to go on the moon, and I think that I can get in contact with him. I found some email addresses for a company that he's the president of, and I'm pretty sure that I could send some of our letters, and hopefully he might have a chance to look at them. So I thought this would be a great chance to write to Buzz Aldrin and ask him some questions. So, as we start with our letter, we're of course going to write, Dear Mr. Aldrin. Now I'm going to go ahead and write about some of my thoughts about space. Okay. So this is sort of my introductory paragraph here. It says, I love looking into space through telescopes, and looking at the moon has always been exciting to me, and I would like to ask you some questions. While I look back through this, I see I have an uppercase at the beginning, I have spaces between my words, I have a period at the end, and it makes sense. But this is a run-on sentence. I'm going to go back and split this up. So I need to read back through, find a good spot to end a sentence. I love looking into space through telescopes. That's a good spot to end a sentence, period. Now I have to pay attention to how the next sentence is beginning. I'm going to erase that word and I need to make the L in looking uppercase because that's now the first letter of my next sentence. Looking at the moon has always been exciting to me. I think I could put another period there and end that sentence. Don't want to start it with the word and. Let's see. I would like to ask you some questions. Now this paragraph works better. I'm going to go ahead and start writing down some questions that I have for Mr. Aldrin. So I wrote down my questions here, and I'd like to read through them with you, and we can see if there's any changes we need to make. Right here I wrote, what did it feel like when the rocket started to take off under you? Were you scared? I think I would be scared. When you were walking on the moon, what did it look like? Now, if you remember our last video, we talked about using exact details. And in this sentence, I think I could use some more exact details. When I said, what did it look like? Well, there's probably a lot of things that he saw up there. Why don't I try to think of something more specific? You know, I think I'm interested in what the Earth looked like from him from the moon while he was standing there. So I'm going to change this to say, when you were walking on the moon, what did the Earth look like? Okay, that's just going to be more exact. What did the Earth look like? Was it beautiful? Okay, so there's an example of us taking something that was not very specific, not very exact, and replacing it with an exact detail. Now here we go again. When you were returning to Earth, were you scared that you might not make it home? That would scare me a lot. As I read through this, I notice that I've used the word scare and scared a lot of times. One of them's here. I wrote, were you scared? I wrote, I would be scared. I wrote here, were you scared? So that would scare me a lot. I want to try to think of a few other words that I can replace the word scared with. So I'm not using the same word every time here. So I'll keep the scared here. Were you scared? All right. I think I would be, instead of scared, why don't I think of a synonym? How about nervous? I think I would be very nervous. There we go. It means something similar, but now I'm using more variety of words here, so not using the same word over and over again. When you were returning to Earth, were you scared that you might not make it home? What do you think I could put in place of that word scared? I think I'm going to change it to worried. Were you worried that you might not make it home? Boy, that would be a scary thing, wouldn't it? Were you worried that you might not make it home? That would scare me a lot. I'm going to change this. I'm going to say that would instead of saying that would scare me a lot, I'm going to change that to say that would terrify me. Terrify means to scare you a lot. That would terrify me. I don't need to say terrify me a lot, because terrify already means a lot. When you were returning to Earth, were you worried that you might not make it home? That would terrify me. Your amazing trip makes me excited to find my own adventures. Sincerely, Mr. V. You could write sincerely, or you could write from, okay? Go ahead and write your letter to Mr. Aldrin. You can tell him some of your thoughts, right? That's what I did in my first and last paragraphs. And in the middle, I put some questions in there for him. When you've written for about 15 or 20 minutes, take a few more minutes after that to draw a picture along with it, if you'd like. And if you'd like to try to send your letter to Mr. Aldrin, have your family members take a photo of your letter and text it to me. Now, I cannot promise that Mr. Aldrin will write back to us, but I'm thinking if I send him a bunch of letters, he may choose to send us some answers. All right? Again, I don't know for sure, but we'll try. So go ahead and enjoy this writing activity.